Okay, we're nearly concluded. Orchis est. He died, was killed 14 days before the calends of October, in the year of his age, 45 years of age, and 15 quintodecimo of his imperium, when he was controlling the empire. The cadaver eos, his cadaver, on a sanda pillar populari. This is a very cheap funeral pyre, through Vespilians, who are people who conduct funeral rites or something, and his nutrix, his nurse Phyllis, exported this cadaver, carried him in the suburbs on the Latina Via, on the Latin Road, and that's where the funeral was at, where the remains were taken. But the the rest of him, the reliquaries, Clam secretly, she and Toulated took into the temple of the Flavian Gans, and with the Cinerobusses, with the ashes of Julia, the filia of Titus, whom she herself had reared or educated, and his remains were mixed with those ashes, were mixed in. XVII. His statura was procura. He was tall in stature. In voltu, in his face, he was modest and full on with redness. His oculus, his eyes were very grand or large, verum, but his aci, his eye line, his eyesight was rather habetior in the comparative. Praetoria. Besides, he was pulchra, beautiful for a male, handsome and decent looking, especially in his juventa, in his youth, and quidem, and indeed in his whole body, with the exception of his pedibusses, with the exception of his feet, of which the digits of his feet, which we would call toes, were rather restricted or cramped, I guess, in his shoes or whatever. And then posterior afterwards, he was also deformed by baldness, and he had obesity of his stomach, and he had gracelate crurums, and he had very thin legs, which nevertheless, yet or still, had been recrumented, it's a nice word for getting thinner, by a long valetudini, by a long sickness to him. Okay. Daily Dictionary. Macrescro is to become thin, waste away. So the ray bit's a add-on at the front, a compound. So he recommended, there's an ADO correlatives here. So he was sensing so much verecundia, modesty of his mouth, of his speech, that he recommended himself that amongst the Senate, he would yactrit, he would boast or cast out quondam at one time, thus, he would say this. So by recommending himself, he was trusting himself, I guess. Usque, ad hoc. So ad hoc still, or at this time, usque usually means as far as or continually throughout. And certainly, you have approved, probacid of my heart, my mind, my animum, and my voltum, that's his features, his look. But it ought another correlatives here. His baldness was very offensive to him, so much that Tra-headed, he handled this as a contumely, as an insult. See if to anyone else in a joke or in Yurgio, which would be an insulting way, he would have an objection if even it was mentioned in jest or insult. Quam vis, although in a libello, in a book, which was concerning the cura capillorum, the care of the hair, which he produced, he edited for his friend, to his friend. This even, at the same time, consoling this guy, he has inserted some Greek, which says, "Do you not see that I too am tall and comely to look upon?" Fair enough. That's Greek for you. Tamen. Nevertheless, the iadem fata, the same fates, plural, remain for me, of my hair, capillorum, and ablative absolute, with a a stout heart or something, forte animo, I bear, that my coman, my hair, is senescenting. It is growing old in adolescence. And you know that neither is anything more gratious, pleasing or something, quicquam's anything, than decor, which you could say is beauty, but nor is it as brief. Okay. Impatience of labour, didn't like work. And he ambulated, he walked on his feet through the city, non-temere. Temere is usually random or rational, randomly. Non usually means hardly ever, so he hardly ever walked with his feet. In campaigns, expeditions, and in military agmine, in his columns, he was rather rarely was on a horse. And he assiduously or constantly, he was vectosest. He was carried in a lectica, which would be a sedan chair type thing. Nullo armarum, he had nothing much to do with arms, didn't agree arms, but he tenebato. He was held by an especial zeal or desire, even of Sagittarium, of archery. Remember, vel as an adverb just means even, and as a preposition it can mean or. Centenus verus genus feras, so 100 wild animals, 100 feral animals of various types. Sapi often in his Alban Sesusu retreat. Plerisque, very many people, spectaveranted. They saw him conficing, of completing off or finishing off 100 feral animals or different wild animals, and even ex industria or de industria, purposely. Thus, we have a pronoun here, corundum. Certain types of piercing through them, figentum in their heads, fixing into their heads, I guess with arrows, so that with duobus ictibusses, with 2 strikes, it was as if he had efficerated or made cornices, which are a fourth declension, like successu, as horns. So he shot 2 arrows into the heads looking like horns. Non numquam, not never. So sometimes, a lot of ins there. He would have boys of the nominatives, far off, procol. It's like they're standing and offering. Proscupulos, instead of a boulder or a mark. Dispansam manus dextere. So they expand making wide the palm of his hand, of his right hand, his right manus, and he would direct it via his art, or such skill in his art, the arrows, so that all of them, through intervals of the fingers, that's the gap in the fingers with its wide spread out, would innocuously, would evade the fingers or fly between them. XX, 20, one of the easier Roman numerals. What have we got? In the initial of his running the empire, when he was emperor, he neglected his nudipplurals, his liberal studies, quamquam, although the bibliotheques, his libraries, which had been consumed by incendio, by fire, consumed by fire, he had took care, to repair them very expensively. Impensissime looks superlative. From everywhere, he pettis with these are another ablative absolute, having sought examples of these books which had been burnt, and missus having sent to Alexandria, another city that doesn't take an ad, those who could describe it, rewrite them, or copy them down and amend them. So just 2 words for gathering these books again. Numquam, never, nevertheless, or but never. Still, he never, noscendus, of knowing either of history and poetry. Did he have any opera? Did he have any work of getting to know these? Or did he give himself over either to a necessary style? I don't think that's a pen. I think that's the style of our writing poetries or histories. And nearly done. Okay. So besides commentaries and the acts of Tiberius Caesar, nihil he would read. He would read nothing. Accusative for that's Greek, I think, so it goes like stylon or something in Greek. Anyway, epistles and orations and edicts, that's the plural, he would form by alien ingenium, the skill of other people.